going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fred Link Ayler Show. I'm here today with an episode called Good Cop, Bad Cop. And we just want to use this episode to determine, which behaviors equal the right behavior to be on the police force, if you could still end up the same way either way. So I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves. Mike and Mike, please.
I'm the older guy, so I guess I'll go first.
Go, kid.
Yeah. I'm Mike Dowd, known for the documentary, The 7-5.
Right.
I was a police officer in Brooklyn in the 80s, and in 1992, I ended up getting arrested, involved in a racketeering conspiracy.
Okay.
I'm Mike Palazzo. I was a former Nassau County police officer for a little over 20 years. Did a lot of work in DWIs. Good friends with Mike. Working on a lot of stuff right now, podcasts, and maybe a movie coming up.
Okay. See, y'all didn't tell me about the movie or the podcast coming up.
Yeah, some things you try to keep under your hat because I've been talking about it for 7 years now.
Oh, okay. All right. So, both of y'all have stories with very interesting sets of circumstances surrounding both. So I almost don't know whose story that I want the listeners to hear first, but because I think your story was such like a kick in the ass, I really want to start with
direct kick in the ass.
Yeah, I think yours was a direct kick in the ass. So I really want to start with your story.
So I deserved it and he didn't. That's what.
No.
Well, it is the truth.
So yeah, I got in the job and I got involved in doing a lot of DWIs. Very passionate about it. When I got in the job, it was rah, rah, rah. I came out of the academy, thinking you're going to save the world, but obviously you're not. I started getting into do DWIs.
Right.
Worked up on the North Shore. That covered like Roslyn, Great Neck, Manhasset, that area.
Right.
I was pretty active. And in the beginning, I remember my first arrest, I made a DWI arrest, and nobody was too happy about it. Some of the bosses would be happy because of the numbers.
Right.
The thing's called numbers. That helps the boss get promoted. So as time went on, I would make arrests, and I started making more arrests.
I'm sorry, you saying the more arrests that you make as an officer, the more
arrests you make as an officer, it makes your commanding officer look better.
Okay.
So they want, college.
So not your direct line officer.
Right.
Your commanding officer.
The commanding officer. If he does a good job, and there's a thing called NASDAT, he'll go places. And if he doesn't, some guys do, some guys don't. I was active, I'm not saying every cop should be active. I'm very pro-cop. It's just a lot of things go on and people are focused on other stuff. Right. They're focused on more the race of things. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. And I think it needs to be opened up.
Okay, so when you did a traffic stop for DWIs, what would be the first thing you would look for to identify that this person might be drinking? The
first thing I would look for, I do the car stop. Obviously, you look for a violation. Right. And really, it's not hard not to find a violation to pull somebody over with.
Right.
Whether it's failing to maintain lane, they come out of lane, speed, numerous things. But, even an object hanging from the mirror is obstructed view.
Okay.
So, but most of the people who fail to maintain lane,
that's a cheap shot.
It is a cheap shot. The big one was people driving out lights on 2 in the morning.
Right. All right, that's reasonable.
So anyway, you did the car stop. Go up to the car. The first thing you notice, a lot of times they give you that look, that stare, like look through you.
Yeah.
And you smell the odor of an alcoholic beverage, glassy, bloodshot eyes. The indicia of intoxication.
Oh, there's a stare that comes with being drunk, there's
a stare that it's kind of like when your father's yelling at you and you don't want to look him in the eye because you're wrong.
Yeah.
They're looking past you because they can't really focus.
Right.
So at that point you'd have them get out of the car, do the standard field sobriety test, and portable breathalyzer. And you see if they're intoxicated. It's basic. And
did you ever make a real arrest, Mike?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of cops consider it not a real arrest. And I did other arrests. I had gun collars and stuff like that.
Right.
But, I was very passionate about this.
I'm going to have to, you got to give me liberty to tease him a little bit.
Of course. He loves to tease me.
Yeah.
So we would, I'd make arrests. As I made arrests, I realized, with certain people, they really didn't want you to arrest. So, like I said,
wait, there's a disparity between the people they want you to arrest and not?
There's a huge disparity. When you're in the academy,
right,
they'll have a person come in and describe to you, with PBA cards and everything is big on Long Island. Other states, they don't really care about PBA cards. When you're in Long Island, the city, everybody's got a PBA card.
Right.
They consider it to get a jail-free card.
Okay.
People use it, for stop signs, if, you know a cop. Which is fine if you want to do that, because it's still based on an officer's discretion. It's discretion.
Right.
DWI is a crime. There's no discretion with it. People don't realize that.
Right.
You really have no discretion.
Whether you drunk a little bit or a lot.
If you're drunk and you're letting somebody go, you're committing a crime as a cop.
Oh.
So people don't realize that. So, however, these people give you PBA cards. You'd have some people you pull over and they just hand it out the window without a license and think it's good enough.
Whatever happened to the day of driving people home?
Yeah, those days are over.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Just driving people home. So
all right. So you're doing this for a while, right? You gotten so good that you know the stare.
I gotten very good at it with a driver while intoxicated, driver while impaired by a drug.
Right, and like you said,
things.
to get somebody to pull over, it takes very little, right? You could just pretty much
pull them,
catalog of things and just pull them over.
Yeah, right. I mean, to be honest, if they're committing traffic infractions, and usually when they're intoxicated, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
I mean, still now I drive around and you can see it.
All right, so
fast forwarded my career.
Yeah,
as time went on,
right,
I started making more arrests, got more slack, less people talked to me. Okay. I didn't go out rah drinking with the guys. I wasn't into that. I went to work, made my money.
Right.
You did something, check. Mike. You went to the gym or something.
Yeah.
You didn't
and I would go to the gym and go home. And then it started, maybe not assisting me on car stops until one night later on in my career.
Wait, you would ask for assistance and no one would show up?
I would ask for assistance and you'd hear the tumbleweeds. So if you grew up in Long Island and you know Long Island, if it's 2 or 3 in the morning,
right,
it's really not that busy.
Okay.
So you could get cities from Glen Cove to Great Neck in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be waiting 20 minutes on a car stop.
Right. And does anyone ever show up though?
They show up. Yeah, I've had guys that, permanent guys that would assist me with great guys to work with.
Right.
But when those guys weren't working, and you had guys obviously that want to sleep in the firehouse.
Right.
And I understand that. Guys have kids, they're tired. But I used to say, hey, you got a job as a cop, sometimes you got to do police work.
Yeah.
Everybody's under this impression, and the media especially, cops are out there looking to pull people over. They're foaming from the mouth to make that car stop. It's not the truth.
Well, you said the numbers count for something, so
the numbers count.
We got to consider.
But
that.
a lot of guys don't care.
Right.
You'd have guys that write 1 or 2 tickets.
Yeah.
There's really no quota as per se. People say there's a quota.
Yeah.
So
how does that work? How does that work?
If you put it this way, if you're writing 1 or 2 tickets, they're going to get on you.
Okay.
Right. So
well, they want to know what you're doing.
They want to know what you're doing. They want to make sure you're not out there at your girlfriend's house or whatever doing dumb stuff, which guys have done.
Right.
Yeah. I don't.
Not you.
I don't.
Not
me.
you. Okay.
That was I had to keep busy.
Right.
My thing. I couldn't even sit on a stop sign or anything like that. I used to like to keep busy.
Right.
So fast forward in my career to one night, I did do a car stop.
Okay.
And it was a cop's mom.
Yeah.
And
you did a car stop with a cop's mom?
She was driving the car. She was intoxicated.
And you knew that because
I told her over, and she had told me that her son's a cop.
Is that how she said it?
She said my son's a cop.
Wait,
her exact words were, "My son's a cop, and I drink and drive all the time. Nobody's locked me up."
What?
So I said, "Okay, step out of the car."
Yeah.
She steps out of the car. I do trying to do my sobriety test.
Right.
And she's going back and forth with me, being a little combative, verbally only.
Right.
So at that point, I did a breathalyzer. She showed she was positive and intoxicated at that point.
Right. But now you have a legal obligation to arrest her.
And now I have a legal obligation to arrest her, which I did.
Right.
I didn't know who her son was at the time. It was nothing personal. I didn't know him, nothing like that. And I understand why he would be mad. I get it.
Right.
So I locked her up. And
wait, you said you do understand why he'd be mad?
It's your mom. Of course you're gonna be mad. I get it.
Your mom's drinking and listen. I'm not an advocate
I
for the
agree
law.
if your mom's drinking and driving.
But your mom is drinking and driving, right? So all right.
But it was never personal.
Right. I don't think it was personal. Yeah. It
was a job.
You didn't know the guy.
So that's when the circus started.
Okay.
I got to headquarters with her, started getting on time. She's screaming at me. Anyway, I do this whole arrest. She's charged with DWI. Another threat technician tested her. She was drunk. As the weeks came after that, I started getting non-assistance on car stops. Now I'm under investigation.
Did they actually whistle?
Yeah.
Like what? Like
I had it recorded. They had, I got a group chats that they had.
Right.
That I had received a kidney transplant before.
Okay.
In 2010. And during that group chat amongst cops, they said I should have died and never got a kidney because I locked up the cop's mom.
And it's supposed to be like a brotherhood. And so
in addition to that,
right.
I had a sister that died when she was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Of a liver disease.
Wow.
They made up a rumor that the reason why I'm locking up drunk is because my sister was hit by a drunk. They made up that rumor.
Wow. Made it seem like you were out there being vindictive.
Right, which I wasn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, now all of a sudden I'm under investigation.
Right. We get this. We down to our last couple seconds, but we're gonna be right back with you after this commercial break. And this is so interesting. Like you guys might have to come back for a part 2 because this is I love this story right here. Thank y'all for joining us out there in the audience and on our Facebook Live. Appreciate you and see you in a minute. And we are back to the second installation of the Link Show. I got 2 guys here with me, Mike and Mike. One is Mike Dowd, and Mike, you want to introduce yourself since you're already telling the story?
Yeah, Mike Palazzo.
Yeah, it's Mike Palazzo. So we were at the stage in your story where you started to calling for backup and you was getting whistles like really over the actual whistles?
I was getting whistles. I was getting all kinds. I was getting stuff in the precinct folder, which I don't really care. And I tell this story. Why I tell it is I'm not disgruntled. I don't really care. You know, I got my pension and all. But I know there's a cop somewhere out there that's probably going through the same thing.
Right.
And
what would be your advice to him?
Well, first of all, if I had somebody not coming on a job now, I'd say don't take the job.
Right.
Wow.
That's my first advice. If I had a kid, I'd tell him not to take the job. Not the realm of everything going on.
Right.
But if a guy was on the job now,
Are you saying that because of how difficult it is to get a cop right now?
very difficult because you get it from, the job doesn't stand behind you anymore. These guys have such a tough job. The guys that I worked with are still there. A lot of good guys. I see what they go through.
It wasn't like when you were running the street, Link. You can take a beating and go home. Everybody did. It was over.
Honestly, I'll tell you what. And black, white, never mattered to me.
Right.
But my most problems came in car stops from the white kids with money.
Yeah.
Because they want to call their lawyer and all. The black kids I pulled over from like Roslyn Heights or coming through from Hempstead, I never really had a problem with.
Right.
It's, and I don't mind. It's a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
I understand if you're trying to get away. And they understood. And I grew up in Queens. I grew up in as a melting pot. The high school I went to, there was all kinds of races. A lot of cops grew up in Long Island. They grew up around years ago, only white kids. And it's tough.
Right.
And that's why, I'm getting off the subject a little, but it's tough for them because they never got punched in the face. They never got into a fight.
Right.
These days, when you go for your background check, if you say you were in a fight or you got punched in the face, something, they'll disqualify you. Yeah. I'd want a cop that was been through a fight and got punched in the face.
So did you retire early?
I retired. I had my 20 years in, like 20 and a half. And with everything going on, they started an investigation. Say I lied during the arrest. And I didn't even. I never lied. They had some video that said she didn't stumble. It was from a bagel store.
Yeah,
it was total nonsense.
Yeah,
and I mean, you want to keep going on it. Bottom line, she was drunk.
Yeah,
I would swear on everything. She's drunk. I didn't lie about it. And when the job doesn't have your back anymore.
Yeah,
and I saw the writing on a wall.
Right,
and they want to transfer me to a precinct.
Well, she could have been clear later on throughout the system somewhere, right?
So the charges, they want to drop in the charges.
Right.
Then they go and tell me. Then they go. Newsday decides to do an article. Calling my parents' house. Now I become the front cover of Newsday. I'm on the front cover of Newsday. That all these somebody's arrests would drop.
I got to get back to you because I only got about 8 minutes left. That's why I say you guys are gonna have to come back. Please come back on the show again. I need you back again, Mike Dowd. I don't know where to start with you because this is one guy who did his job to the letter. Literally, he crossed all the I's. I mean, he dotted all the I's.
It's embarrassing sometimes.
I did my job, in a realm treating people good.
Right. Just what would be considered a great cop? He did his job.
Embarrassing sometimes to be.
I'm not a great cop.
What happened with you, man? What's going on? How did this start?
It's odd because some of the things that Mike said happened to me, and we have discussed this in the past. His first arrest, they were mad at him.
Yeah.
Did you hear?
Yeah, he told me.
How he's there. The story. Yeah. Well, one of my first arrests was a DWI.
Right.
And they gave me hell. They gave me hell for it, and I felt like ostracized. Yeah. And I'm a people pleaser. That's generally what most alcoholic children are. They're people pleasers. Yeah. And I wanted to make everybody around me happy, and even if it meant making cops that didn't like me happy.
Right.
So I began early on to see the handwriting on the wall that if I wanted to be liked, I had to follow certain patterns.
Right.
And the difference between myself and Mike is following a pattern is one thing. I developed new patterns and or enhanced other ones that I saw, which ended up in the corrupt zone. And once you start crossing that line of I don't want to say that taking a free coffee is a big deal because it isn't, but it can be. Because for some people, you can have that held against you.
So what was the free cup of coffee for you?
Well, so for me, and people know this that know my story, the main thing for me was when I actually told somebody to buy me the lobster lunch.
Right.
When that worked out for me.
Wait, you had a guy who you had pulled over.
Yeah, I had a Puerto Rican kid from Puerto Rico who came here to drive.
Okay.
He had purchased a vehicle. Didn't have any. We called it a mystery because he had no license, no registration, no insurance card, no plates.
Right.
So that was known in the hood. That was known as a Puerto Rican mystery. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. Right.
Don't tell me it ain't because that's what it was.
It is what it is.
Right. Yeah. So he was a mystery, and he had a knot of hundreds in a fanny pack.
Right.
And I'm looking at knot of hundreds, fanny pack. I'm hungry. I got $8 in my pocket. My Honda Civic, just got rear-ended or something. And I'm like,
right.
Maybe maybe I can get a lobster lunch out of this deal, and I don't have to give this guy $1,800 worth of tickets and impound his car, and everybody leaves this situation happy.
Okay,
it worked out for in my benefit financially at that moment. Right. We're all this immediate gratification. Call it immediate gratification.
Right.
I took the immediate gratification, and I actually left the scene panicking a little bit, wondering if I was going to get pulled over, get set up, whatever. And it turned out that I didn't. And after about a half an hour, I settled in to say, wow, I could probably get away doing this.
But you pulled off thinking, bad boys.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
It took a while.
That's the last song I heard in Freedom, by the way.
Wow.
In 1992, my partner sang that in the car to me as he's wearing the wire.
Oh, wait, your partner...
Different,
I will get into that later.
It's a big story.
On the next episode.
The story's like octopus.
So what was the thing that blew the bag open? Like how do we go from getting a steak dinner or a lobster dinner to having criminal charges? How do we make that?
Well, there comes a point along the way where the street's got so much money in it, you can't turn it down. Money can be left, dope can be left, and you're like. The right thing to do is take the money and give it to the city. The right thing to do is to take the cocaine and voucher it. But after a while, you start saying, this has all got monetary value, and I have choices to make here.
Right.
And I made some of the wrong choices early on, and then it just becomes a building pattern. And you find out that you're not the only one doing it. It becomes okay.
So you think it takes a certain kind of person to be a cop and to resist all those types of things? So back in the 80s, we're going to be clear, until the 90s, it was a different world. Right.
And there was no cameras on you. If there was, they had to be pre-planned and pre-set up.
Right.
So anybody who's an opportunist, doesn't make you a bad person necessarily, just says, I see an opportunity. It's a financial opportunity. It happens to be a crime in this case. So some people... You go to the candy store. There's a lot of candy on that shelf. One piece of candy isn't going to, destroy the world and leave somebody broke, even though it's a crime.
Right.
So one little pile of cash isn't going to leave anybody upset, broke, and you end up enriched for the moment.
Right. So
it's a beginning. It's a degradation. Constantly steps.
So you think that for each door that you go through that you shouldn't have gone through, just presents you with another door to go through until you just
you just don't. Now you start seeking doors, rather than walking into doors by accident and stumbling upon it.
Yeah.
Now you start seeking opportunities because you've been enriched.
Right.
And you're being rewarded. Right.
Right.
And you see no consequences because
during drug raids, you would target money and
I hope the guy got away.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any
just
cops
run. I hit the siren and run.
Right.
Run, please, run. Run. We don't want you. We want whatever you got behind.
Right. Because you're going to complain about us taking it if we get you, right?
Of course.
Yeah. You're going to have the complaints. Yeah, I had $8,000. What happened?
Yeah, what happened to my $8,000? Meanwhile, you're lying.
Right. You never had it.
You never had it. It's happened. Which, by the way, I hate not to short shrift this conversation, but that began to happen very early on in the crack epidemic, because there were so many drug arrests and they couldn't process them quickly enough and fast enough and overwhelm the system.
Right.
But attorneys began to tell their clients, complain.
Yeah.
So instead of being 800 vials of crack, there was 1,200, you say. Or there was, instead of being their voucher in $2,800, say there was 4,800. So now the investigation goes from the criminal offense
to internal affairs.
Right. So now they're saying, let's just drop the case against them. Well, we don't need this aggravation. And then it began to perpetuate itself out of control.
Right. So then almost every cop was afraid to put his hand in the bag now.
Everybody.
All right. Listen, this brings us to the end of the show, but I do need to promise me to you guys that I can have you back here. I'm hoping as early as Tuesday, although I don't know what the program is for the show.
We got a lot more to the story.
Yeah,
he said a quick thing. Like Mike said, he took the money. I had a guy just real quick. I had locked up one day. In the street, I know he had $80 in his pocket.
Right.
When I got him, somewhere I lost the money. So I went and take the $80 out of my pocket.
Oh my
and
goodness!
Put it in his property.
Oh my goodness!
Super good cop.
Yeah, really too good, Mike.
No games.
Yeah. The guy had $80 when I walked in the studio. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's okay.
Yo, thank you so much for joining me today on the Fred Link Ayler Show, Mike. I want to thank both of you guys for being here. And hopefully Tuesday we'll be back to have them on. This should have been an hour. We'll work on it, man. Thanks for joining us.